reality morphing is where you intentionally shift the projection of what you put out into the world. And as above, so below, you start to see a different reflection come back at you. And I'm going to share with you exactly how to do that in this video. And I share this from a place of reality morphing many times in my life. The most prevalent or profound time was when I was 22 years old and I was working as a graduate tax accountant in Perth, Western Australia, doing tax returns for a living, realizing that this wasn't the reality that I wanted to live. And it was a reality I created based on conditioning from the past about what I thought I want based on programs put in me from other people in society, studying finance and accounting, not really having a lot of passion and joy for what I was doing. The reality morphing took place for me during a time where I realized that to change my reality, I needed to transcend the environment. I needed to transcend my situation that I was unconsciously creating a victim story around. Like, I hate my job, why am I here, blah, 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 blah. And as above, so below, I'm recreating or I'm attracting things that reflect this victim story I was putting out. Now, as you're about to see, you must take responsibility for everything that you've created in your life, because the moment you do that, you get all your power back. Because I created that reality through my thoughts, my emotions, my actions. And the moment I took responsibility for it, I could now all of a sudden start to rewrite or overwrite the old conditioning to start to step into a reality where I was purposeful, where I did have passion, where I did have joy and enthusiasm for the work that I did. And the challenge was I had to access that before my job changed, before my environment changed. I had this dream of wanting to travel the world, working online, going to these amazing destinations. I'd literally just come back from an exchange journey where I lived in Canada for 5 months. So I came off the back of this amazing holiday or trip and I was straight into a corporate job. I remember the strong desire I had to want to travel and do all these things online. But when I got to work creating the underlying emotions or stepping into the frequency and then morphing my internal world to then reflect the external world that I wanted to live, what ended up happening over a period of time, I was getting up every day, getting on the same train that I would catch to work every single day, seeing the same people, going to lunch at the same places. I was doing all the same regular things, but I was carving out time every single morning to start to consciously tap into how it's going to feel when I'm living my dream reality and I'm traveling the world, making money online. And as I started to do that, I tuned into the state of gratitude, I tuned into this state of presence. I started meditating for the first time when I was 22. I remember going to catch the train and waiting for the train in the morning. I lived in Perth, Western Australia. You couldn't ask for a better place to my morning commute. The sun was shining every single day. But I wasn't looking, I wasn't appreciating. I was in this state of expectation and complaining. I was missing the opportunity to appreciate all these little things that started to happen when I decided or carved out this time to consciously be more intentional with how I was living. So I'm getting on the train every day. I'm breathing in the gratitude for the sun, light. And I remember just like being around all these other NPC characters on the train in the morning. Everyone's on their phones. And I made the decision that every train ride was going to be a no phone zone for me. It was going to be a time where I got to meditate and stand and just observe and watch and be in the frequency of my future. I remember in the walk, when I would get off my train, I'd go up the escalator and all the people with their suits and their bags walking past me, and I'd be walking slow, taking it in, walking to my office, breathing, walking in the state of my future. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but this is something that I later on learned from Joe Dispenza 4 or 5 years later when I started attending his retreats. He did these walking meditations, and I didn't realize, but I was already doing them. And 6 to 12 months went by, my job didn't change, but what ended up changing is I changed. And what ended up happening at my job, I started to attract different opportunities at the company I was working for. I was working at Deloitte. I started to attract these different opportunities that didn't require me to work as many hours. It was actually opportunities that I slipped into this unique role where I was working on I had my own little private sector where I was not being micromanaged. I didn't have to track my hours like all the other people did. These little opportunities started to pop up that allowed me more space. And I started to enjoy my work. I started to enjoy the people I was around. I started to attract some of my best friends in this time. So all of a sudden, I'm now operating from the place of joy and presence, happiness. I'm having fun. I'm connecting with people. I was on purpose because I was working towards something outside of my job. And I'll never forget when I started to extend my meditations, and I started meditating longer every single day. And after work, I would go down to the beach and watch the sunset and have these little moments with myself where I was getting access to some stillness and clarity. And his voice was just like, travel back to Canada, go back to Canada. I was like, interesting. And more I allowed or watched or contemplated this direction that I was being pulled, the more apparent it came to me, that's where I need to go. And because I'd already transcended the environment, because I was already operating from the frequency of my future, the decision to leave my job and quit my job, bear in mind, I'm 2 years into my work at this point, about 16 months actually. I had already started my chartered accountant degree, so I was studying for that too. Everyone that I told, like I said, hey man, I'm thinking of leaving my job. I don't know if this is for me. Everyone that I said to do that was like, no, don't do that. You're an idiot. Finish the chartered accountant degree, see it out for the 3 years, and you're guaranteed a 6-figure income for the rest of your life. But I was like, nah, you know what? I don't think that's for me. I'm ready to leave. And the decision to leave came from a place of full faith, full trust, and full courage. There was zero fear because I knew I'd already tapped in to the thing that I wanted. I knew if I could access this state of being in this corporate job, I can access it anywhere. I knew that my success was coming from within. It wasn't dependent on a result or validation from without. And that was the shift that changed everything because I accessed it. I'd morphed my reality internally first. So I quit my job in September 2017. I flew back to Toronto, Canada. No idea what I was going to do, no plan, but I just knew this feeling, this higher self feeling would take me exactly where I need to be. And I waited. I came back to Canada. I was living with my girlfriend's family for a couple of months, not making any income, waiting, going like, where do I need to go? Take me. I want to work in this field of passion. I want to work in the field of health and wellness. I want to keep this passion going. Found a job at a meditation studio and a healing clinic, worked out here for a couple of years, started to attract a whole new group of people, started to attract a whole new group of opportunities, met my first life coach, met some of my mentors, started to unlock this whole world. I discovered Joe Dispenza. I went to one of his events, and all of a sudden, the breadcrumbs just laid themselves out. I was making content all the while. My first business coach found me, and then 2019, he coached me and showed me how to get my first online coaching client. I'll never forget the day that I signed my first client for $3,000, which was more than what I was earning probably for the entire month at that time. And then all of a sudden, I saw it. In the space of 2.5, 3 years, the vision that I had for traveling, working online, making money online, and traveling the world came true. And at the back end of 2019, I left Toronto and flew to Hawaii and started my travel journeys as an online coach, having completely morphed my entire reality. And I share this because the process is the same, no matter what it is that you're trying to morph. Because I'm in a stage right now where I'm now morphing into the next stage of my reality, which is making 100 to 200K a month in my business, owning multiple properties around the world, and traveling first class, and having a family. Now, the exact same process must go down. I must now consciously, intentionally step into that frequency of that reality every single day, every single morning. How I walk, how I speak, how I coach, how I create must come from the frequency of my future because it's already here. And now I'm about to document the entire process for the next reality morphing pathway over this next probably 1 to 2 years. I've realized that when you have these big goals, you play the 3-year game because the mind will underestimate what you can do in 1 year, it will underestimate what you can do in 3 years, but overestimate what you can do in 1 year. So play the 3-year game. So that's where with me, I allow myself 3 years when I set into a new kind of future that I'm tapping into, give myself 3 years to get there. Because at the end of the day, if you're already tapping into your future now, you wouldn't be looking out there for evidence. You wouldn't be looking out there for, when's the result going to come? When's my 100K a month going to come? When's my online coaching client going to come? You're not looking for it. You already are it. And that's how you know. That's how you know. So check yourself every single morning. Like me, check yourself. When you get up, you go through your routine. What frequency is it coming from? Because until you give yourself full permission to slow down, tap in, and access the frequency of your future, however that looks like. Remember, frequency is emotion, energy, emotion. Frequency is made up of how you feel and how you think. So when you start to allow your imagination to take you into these places where you're already having the things that you want, you have the life that you want, what would you be thinking during that time? And then in your morning practice, you go into that place, you play in that realm. If you need an hour to do that, you give yourself an hour to do it. It's very simple. You come out of a practice like that whether it's meditation or affirmations or visualization, practice doesn't matter. Your belief in the practice is what determines its success. You go into your practice, you come out of it, you go about your life knowing that the external is not going to probably be any different, but the internal is going to be different. You might go to the same places and see the same people, but you're going to be different. You're projecting out a different quality. And therefore, what you get back is going to start to change. And you'll probably notice though, during those times, you're going to get intuitive nudges to go in certain directions, to go to certain places. For me, at certain times, I got intuitive nudges to walk inside that meditation studio and apply for the job. That's where I wanted to work. And that decision completely changed the course of my life at a time where I was figuring my shit out. If you remember, or you know, or you trust that you've already figured it out, your higher self's already nudging you onto the right path. You just have to trust or listen to the path that's right in front of you right now. And the only way you can do that is be in the right energy of it. To be in the state of receptivity, receive the next step. Whenever you lose contact with the receptivity, you lose contact with the path, you can find the path by stepping back. Step back from what you're doing. If you're lost in the doing, step back and slow down, go in. And remember, practice the art of remembering your future. And I promise you, you'll get there. And the more you do, when you do this once, your belief in yourself starts to go up. Your conviction in your own abilities to morph your reality goes up. And then you just realize anything's possible. Anything's possible. The only limitation is your imagination, because is what's allowing you to tap into the frequency. So you can play with any future potential, but you let go of the timeline. If you're attached to it happening in 6 months or 1 year, then you're neglecting the process. You've forgotten the reason why you're doing it, which is to access it now so that you no longer give a fuck about the timeline. You know what I mean? All right, I'll wrap it there. I share emails every week to people subscribed to my newsletter who want extra support implementing this kind of stuff. The link is in the description if you want to check that out. And sometimes you need a bit of accountability with these things too. So if you want support inside of my men's group, click the link in the description too. And I'll see you on the inside. It's time to morph that reality, baby. Let's get it.